Hey everyone, Miss Wares here. Today we're going to be going over your very first music theory lesson. So go ahead and follow along with this worksheet. First things first, we all need to write our name up at the top. Make sure you put your first and your last name, just in case you lose it, we know who it belongs to. Now, your worksheet might look a little different. We have two different worksheets. If yours says treble clef, that's this one here, then you'll be following along. Bass clef, this first part is the same for everybody, so go ahead and follow along, and I'll tell you when it starts to get a little different for you guys. So first things we're gonna talk about is the staff. The staff is this thing right here. There are 5 lines and 4 spaces, as you can see in our staff. And this is where all of our music is going to happen. So anytime you see a music note, it is going to be on the staff. Now over here, we are going to practice drawing our staff. So take your pencil, nice and steady. I want you to start at the triangle and you're going to go all the way until you hit the dot. And then keep going until you hit the triangle all the way on the other side. And then repeat on the next one. Make sure you're making it nice and steady, nice and even here. When you finish all of these, there should be 5 lines total. Because we are drawing our staff, there's 5 lines and 4 spaces. Just like that. Now, before we move on, I also want to number those lines and spaces. Anytime we number our staff, we're going to start from the bottom and then go up to the top. So on our left side, let's number the lines. So the bottom line is going to be line number 1. Moving up, line 2. 3, 4, and 5. On the other side, I want to label those spaces. So the bottom space is going to be between line 1 and 2. That's going to be our first space. Moving up, 2, 3, and 4, just like that. Now we are going to move on to the next part of this worksheet. This is where it gets a little bit different. It talks about our clef signs. So we're going to be talking about 2 different clefs. We have our treble clef and our bass clef. Now the clef sign is going to be different depending on what instrument you play. Our higher pitched instruments have our treble clef and the lower pitched instruments have the bass clef. And your instrument has this clef and it's kind of like the language that your music is going to be in. They're going to be different from treble clef to the bass clef. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our treble clef people. We're going to practice drawing it. So bass clef, you can go ahead and fast forward to the bass clef portion of this video. All right, treble clef people, let's get to it. So as you can see on our staff, the treble clef is always going to be on the far left side before any of the other notes. Let's practice drawing. Right here, it says start from the bottom to trace the first loop and then draw 3 of your own. So let's do that now. Down at the bottom, you're going to hook that bottom part and then go up and then a little hook up at the top as well. Doesn't have to be perfect, just try to get as close as you can. Hook on the bottom and a little hook on top, just like that. The next part, they already did that line for you. Now we're going to be doing the loop on the top and the loop underneath. And it says use the lines of the staff as your guide. So we're going to start up here at the top where it connects. We're going to curve around and we're going to loop. And if you can tell right here, we're going to stop right there on that second line. Remember, we numbered from bottom to top. So we're stopping on that second line. Let's go ahead and do the next one. Curving around, stopping on that second line. The second line is going to be super important once we start putting our letters on the staff, and you'll see why. And then this last part, they have it all for you. So now we're going to start at the bottom of that line, just like we did in the first step. You're going to go up and then loop around until you stop at that second line. And there are 4 of them total, so go ahead and do that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to stay as close to the dotted line as possible. And that is our treble clef. Now, up here where it says treble clef, I do want to write one more thing because treble clef is also known as the G clef. So we're going to put equals G clef. And like I said, that second line is going to be super important once we start getting to those letters. So that is our treble clef. All right, now it's time to talk about the bass clef. So bass clef people, as you can see, our bass clef is always going to be to the far left of our staff before any of the other notes. So let's practice drawing that down here. So this first step, it says start at line 4 and trace the curve. So remember, our lines are numbered from bottom to top. So let's count up to the 4th line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to go to that fourth line, and we are going to start there, and we're going to learn curve around and down, just like that. So let's trace these over here as well. That is the first part of our treble clef. Now, the next part, it says, now add a dot in space 3 and in space 4. So they already did the curve for you. We're just going to be adding those 2 dots like they did here on this first one. So space 3 and space 4. So one is on top of line 4 and one is on bottom of line 4. So line 4 is very important for the bass clef. And then this next part, it says, use both steps to draw the bass clef. Practice 3 on your own. So we're going to trace this first one here, starting on line 4, curving all the way around, and then we're going to trace those 2 dots there as well, and then we're going to do 3 on our own. So line 4, curve around, and then 2 dots. Line 4, curve around, 2 dots. Line 4, curve around, and 2 dots. So like I said, line 4 is very important for the bass clef. So before we leave, I also want you to write one more thing here where it says bass clef, because it is also known as the F clef. And you'll see why once we start putting all of our letters onto the staff. And that's it for our bass clef. All right, we're all back together now. Everybody take a look at number 3. Number 3 says, name 3 instruments that use your clef, whether it's treble clef or bass clef. So first thing I want you to do is write your instrument in that blank. I'm going to list out all of the other instruments that fall in each category, so you'll have your instrument plus 2 others. So for treble clef, we have our flute, our oboe, clarinet, bass clarinet, saxophone, French horn, trumpet, and some percussion instruments like the keyboard. For bass clef, we have our bassoon, our trombone, euphonium, tuba, and some other percussion instruments like the timpani. So once you write in those 3 instruments, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part, which is talking about the musical alphabet. So that first blank, what are the 7 letters in the musical alphabet? Well, we already know that. That is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. It's just the first 7 of the regular alphabet. And then those last 2 blanks there, the musical alphabet, they can go forwards and backwards. That's all for the music theory lesson today. Make sure you put this in your binder so you have it for next time. Thanks. See you then.